Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Raheem. Salatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. So last week we began the series or the book Madarij al Salikeen, Bayna Manazil Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in, the levels of spirituality between the dynamics of it is you alone we worship and you alone we seek help from, the middle verse of Surah al Fatiha. And last week we said that Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala starts with a rant expressing his concern about the general Muslim ummah and how people approach the Quran, saying that the understanding of the Quran, people have lost the pure understanding of the Quran. When I say pure, I don't mean in every single nuanced matter. What I mean is that the general purpose of the Quran and its goal. And therefore, people come up with very interesting opinions. And he says that the problem goes back to one of two things, or both. Number one, what's called hawa, which is translated as caprice, but I think even the definition doesn't fully capture what hawa is. And the second is he calls it ara al-rijal, the opinion of people, which he's referring to logic. So the groups like Mu'tazilites, the Jahmis, the Qadaris, the Jabris, they go back to giving precedence to rationality or to rationale over text. So if their logic comes to a different conclusion than the apparent meaning of a verse of the Quran, they will change the apparent meaning of the verse of the Quran to fit their logic. That's what it is. This is what he's referring to. And he begins this journey with Surah al Fatiha, a long explanation of Surah al Fatiha, and we began with that. And we spoke about Alhamdu. What does that mean? And now we are at Lillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all praise are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the word Allah comes from the root ilah, and the Arabs would use this verb to refer to a infant camel as soon as it's born, its relationship to its mother. So if you look at nature shows, they'll show like a deer when it's first born, and you see that this young infant, the first thing it does, it starts walking and it looks for its mother, and almost automatically starts looking for the milk, right? And the mother's taking care of it. So they would refer to this scene as alaha, with this verb. The infant animal, the infant camel, is doing ilah to its mother, is doing ta'lih to its mother, right? Why? Because this infant realizes that everything it needs is with its mother. Its protection, its nourishment, its love, everything it needs is with its mother, and therefore it attaches itself to the mother in a way where it knows nothing else, because it feels like it doesn't need anything else. That's it. My mother has everything, that's all I need. I don't care about anything else. Even infants, our own babies, are like this. If it's with its mom, with its dad, day of judgment can be starting, it's fine, it's comfortable, because it's with its parent. So they would use this verb, this word, to refer to this relationship. And therefore, they used it to mean worship. Because when a person is worshiping something, an entity, it has this type of relationship. This is my source. This is what I could put my back to. I know that this entity has my back. If I need something, it's with it. So they use this word alaha, to worship. So the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes from this root ilah, which means that which is worshipped. And then they added the definite article al-ta'rif to mean the one that is worshipped. So putting emphasis on the definite article. So the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala literally means the one who is worshipped, right? The one who is worthy of worship, the one who should only be worshipped. But what's important about this, the origin of the word, is that it has this idea of a relationship between the person and the one who is worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. as we will get to inshallah in more detail. So the name Allah is so profound, so deep, that it really describes what is going on, that relationship between the person, the individual, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah, that's where it comes from. Al-Ilah. Now, the Arabs, if they use a word frequently, they will soften it to make it easier to pronounce. So the name Allah is technically Al-Ilah, but since they say it so much, they remove the Hamza, this one letter, the kind of that pause in Al-Ilah, that pause. They removed it and it became Allah. Another example is Bismillah, right? So Bismillah technically is Bi-Ismillah. That's how you would technically say it. But because they say it so much, they removed that pause, the Hamza, and it became Bismillah. Does that make sense? Okay. So Allah is Al-Ilah, the one who should be worshipped, the one who is worthy of worship. And that idea, this concept of worship, is more of a relationship, an engagement between the divine and the individual. So Alhamdulillah, there's a lam here, which means lam at-tamlik, ownership, right? All praise are owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or it could mean لِإِنْتِهَاءِ الْغَايَةِ, as they say, an ending point. For example, in English, I am going from Mission Viejo to, for example, San Diego. So lam could be this to as well. Walaikum salam kata. So it would mean all praises should be made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And both, no doubt, are accurate and both are correct. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now, the Quran, when it talks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it'll describe him in certain ways. For example, it will talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is infinite capabilities. And then at the end of the verse, he'll say, Inna Allah kana aliman qadira. Allah is all knowledgeable and all powerful, all able. Right? So it'll conclude with these two names. But these two names, although it's not directly made into an argument, these two names are proof of what he does, and what he does is proof that he is worthy of being called or being named these two names. So this is the dynamics of the Quran, the beauty of the Quran. It gives arguments in indirect ways, but it's upon us to analyze the Quran and study it and ponder upon it in order to derive these arguments. So all praise are due to Allah, who is the Lord of the universe, the Lord of all things. Why are all the praises due to Allah? Because He is the Lord of all things. Right? So when you grammatically break it down, this is what it's saying. Alhamdulillah, all praise are to Allah. And all praise are due to Rabbil Alameen. All praises are due to Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And all praises are due to Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner of the Day of Judgment, or the sovereign on the Day of Judgment. So these are arguments to why He deserves this praise. And from here, we get an important theological concept. And that is what's called Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the lordship or the oneness of Allah's lordship, and Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's worship, that we worship Him alone, that's it. Now, all the messengers, all the divine books, the purpose of this creation revolves around worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the second of these two categories. But our argument, or Allah's argument for His worthiness of worship, comes from the first, by pointing out His lordship, right? His abilities. Why do we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because He is the Lord of the universe. Because He is the most benevolent, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Because He is the sovereign of the Day of Judgment. Because He is Allah, right? The one who is worthy of worship. The one who we can find that security and safety with, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all praises are due to Allah. Why is He praiseworthy? Because He is named Allah. And from that you derive these ideas, these concepts. By being the one who is worthy of worship, by default He is the Al-Malik, Al-Quddus, Al-Salam, Al-Mu'min, Al-Muhaymin, Al-Aziz, until the end of his names and attributes. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points out a a major category of this in this regard. That is Rabbil Alameen. He is the Lord of the universe. Now, in the Arabic language, the word Lord, and even in the English language, the word Lord can be used to refer to someone who has authority over something. So, who is the Lord of this region? You know, in Europe, for example, they would refer to the king as my Lord. Right? They don't mean my God. They mean my Lord. You are the one who has the authority over this land, but with that authority comes responsibility. Right? And that is, by being the Lord, you are responsible for protecting this land, for its economy, for its military, for the safety of its society. Right? You are responsible for building these apartments and these institutions that keep society functioning properly and healthily. Right? So when we say Allah is the Lord, yes, He is the authority. He's the ultimate authority over His creation. But it also means He is the protector of the creation. He is the one who financially, in our terminology, financially takes care of this universe, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is described in a hadith, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been spending on this universe since He first created it, and that did not reduce His possessions in one bit, not one drop. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala criticizes human beings in Surah al-Isra, saying, قُلْ لَوْ أَنْتُمْ تَمْلِكُونَ خَزَائِنَ قُلْ لَوْ أَنْتُمْ تَمْلِكُونَ خَزَائِنَ I'm forgetting the قُلْ لَوْ أَنْتُمْ تَمْلِكُونَ خَزَائِنَ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّي إِذًا لَأَمْسَكْتُمْ خَشْيَةَ الْإِنفَاقِ. He's saying that if humans were to possess the mercy, the treasures of Allah's mercy, they wouldn't spend from it because they are afraid of it diminishing. Right? وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ قَتُورًا. Humans are very stingy in that sense, saying that do not rely on human beings. They will always, they might help you, but to an extent. Their ability is limited. There will come a point where they are afraid. And I've given the example before, if you were to host someone, right? You invite someone, as dear of a person they may be, the most beloved person to you, you'll only host them for so long. There will come a point where you say, that's it, this person is harming my savings, right? So there is a point. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to give and continue to give and continue to give for eternity. In this life He gives us, and in the next life, He gives us paradise. And He keeps increasing that week after week after week. And the day of in the next life there's a Jum'ah, and there's a Friday like we have today in our lives, in this life. At Jum'ah we all gather to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, there's also a Jum'ah, an equivalent in paradise. We all gather to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to see Him, to sit with Him. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unveils a little bit of His majesty, that radiance, reaches us, and it increases our beauty. After seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it increases our beauty. It increases paradise, it becomes better. And we will, go back to our spouses, and they'll say, you look more beautiful than the last time I saw you. SubhanAllah. This is all in hadith. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps giving and giving because He is our Lord. He is Rabbil Alameen. That is His, subhanahu wa ta'ala, His authority over the universe. So we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He is Rabbil Alameen. And it doesn't just end there. There's something that we need to do. We need to look for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's lordship over His universe by looking at the natural world around us. So all of these secular sciences, for example, whether it be biology or chemistry or astronomy or political science, engineering, physics, if you look at that, we always derive laws. All of these sciences are built on laws. Why? Because that's what makes it a science. It needs to be predictable. It needs to be something you can build off of. So they derive these laws. For example, in math, the order of operations. Well, there has to be something that gives us guidelines, dictates the way we solve problems, or else we will never get the same answer twice. The laws of physics, the laws of chemistry, etc. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who placed these laws. And by studying these sciences, we can see the knowledge, the precision, the absolute, we are fascinated by these things, and we continue to learn, we continue to discover. Well, who put that all in place? The Lord, the one who is managing this entire universe. So by delving into these sciences, we get a sense that, well, someone has put this all in place. And atheists, as much as they try to deny the existence of God, there's a point where they say, no, there's an intelligent design. There's something, right? We don't know what it is, right? But there's something out there. It's too precise. It's too, subhanAllah, it's too fascinating to be random. So by looking at the natural world around us and contemplating it and studying it, we realize the one who created it, subhanahu wa ta'ala, is someone who is perfect, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is the Lord of the universe. Now, how can we benefit from that? If we can see Allah's ability, His wisdom, the knowledge that He has from the natural world or through the natural world around us, that should build a relationship of trust. We trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He is taking care of the entire universe. Right? As He is taking care of the entire universe. In order to do that, He needs to know everything. Right? وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا. There is not a single creature that walks on earth, that walks on land, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing it. It is upon Him to provide it. And then He says that He knows where it rests, and He knows where it comes from, or He knows, where it goes. So He refers His lordship in that He is spending on these creatures. He links it back to His knowledge of them. In order to do that, He needs to be knowledgeable of them. So when we look at these things, we build this trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the one who's taking care of the entire universe with such wisdom, will He not take care of my own life? Will He not take care of me as well? Right? When we look at hardship, look at those stories of the person who was, underprivileged. The odds were against him or her, yet they worked and they somehow became such a successful person. We see, as we are inspired by that, we remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who hears the dua of each person, the whisper of every single human being, we know that if we call out to Him, well, He can give us something even better than a success story. He can give us happiness, and that is the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate goal of every single human being, and that is what we want to reach. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ فَقَدَّرَهُ تَقْدِيرًا. He created everything, and He gave everything its due proportion. He created everything in a systematic way, to where we can study it, to where we can understand it, and to where we can copy it almost. Not to the precise, to the extent of creating life, but we can copy, or through those laws we are able to, build our own civilization. How do we, the dynamics of flying, the physics behind flying, the airplanes, where did that come from? An airplane is a model of a bird. The eye is, or the camera is a model of the eye. They studied the eye to make cameras better. And now cameras have two lenses or three instead of one, because, well, why do we have two eyes? It gives us better vision. So they're trying to copy that. The computer is a model of the brain, but it's uncomparable to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. So by understanding Allah's lordship and seeing it in the world around us, we are able to build that trust, and then we can take it to a next level. Well, how can I see that in my own life? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does that with Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying, look at your pasts. Have I not always taken care of you? If I have always taken care of you, will I leave you after making you a prophet? And this is the question that is posed to them. Of course not. Right? And to us, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken care of us before, why will He not take care of us anymore? Unless He's trying to, or unless He is training us for something better, or unless we have forgotten what it means or our purpose, and we stop practicing, for example, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might lift some of His blessings, lift some of those blessings from a person. Why? To remind them, because He is the Lord. And the best analogy for how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with us as individuals is a parent dealing with their child. I mean, that is an analogy you can always look at. We don't give the child everything it wants. Not at all. We will train the child. Why? So that they can become independent. They become stronger. By giving them everything they want and by, spoon feeding them everything, they become weaker, spoiled, right? Their manners go down the drain. They become brats. And when it's time for them to become independent, it's hard for them. So from the very start, we are protecting them, we are training them, we are, building their skills so that they can become independent and successful people. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like that with us, except from the Iman side. To Him, the goal is the next life, not this life. When we deal with our children, what is our goal? Or most parents' goal? This life. It's all about, okay, you need to be wealthy, and that's good, by the way. It's not part of Islam. It's part of the faith to learn and to be independent and self-sufficient so that you're not a burden on society. But it has become to the point where it's all about this life. And next life, once you get older, once you retire, you can do what you need to do. Don't worry about that now. Become a doctor, become an engineer, make millions and have a nice house, and then worry about the next life. That's not the way it works in Islam. That's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worried about. Because by the time someone hits their 50s or 60s, and if they don't have a religious upbringing, it's going to be very hard for them to change their ways. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the Lord of the universe, and therefore He is worthy of praise. And we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we see His lordship, His authority on the entire universe. And then He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Both these names go back to the root Rahma, which is commonly translated as merciful. The word mercy, however, if you look it up in the English dictionary, is limited to more of a type of pity. And I'm having mercy. I have more power over you, or I have power over you, and I'm pitying you, your weakness, and therefore I'm going to have mercy on you. Allah's mercy is above and beyond that. It's much more than that. Allah's mercy reaches us before a hardship even comes. Allah's mercy reaches us before we even realize that we are in need of mercy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is constantly coming to us in ways we either recognize or don't recognize. We as Muslims, we believe firmly that we thrive off Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. Without His mercy, we have nothing. And the Prophet ﷺ makes that clear. He says, no one enters paradise except by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they asked him, not even you? He said, not even me, except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala literally dips me in His mercy. Right? Unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dips me in His mercy, and yataghammadani, showers me, He completely overwhelms me with His mercy subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is very important for us to recognize, that we achieve happiness, we achieve success in this life and the next life through His mercy. That's it. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this clear in the Quran. When He says, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ, to in the end of the concluding verses of Surah Hud, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُمْ. Right? Humans will always differ. They will always differ, except who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy on. Meaning they will differ on the fundamentals of faith. The tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is Allah worthy of worship by Himself, or should others be worshipped with Him? They will differ on the concept of the afterlife. Is there an afterlife or no? Right? The fundamentals of faith. We're not talking about the nuances, the secondary and tertiary issues of Islam, because scholars differed, and among the sayings of the scholars, اختلاف أمتي رحمة. The differing opinions, differing views of the Muslims or the scholars is a form of mercy, in that we are not confined to a strict set of laws, because we come from all different backgrounds, all different areas. Time changes, reality changes, society changes, and if we have to follow one ruling on every single nuanced issue, it's going to be very hard, extremely hard. So that's what's meant by the differing of my nation is mercy. It's not referring to the fundamentals of faith. Differing on the fundamentals of faith is not mercy. It is shiqaq and zayg, as we took in the Aqidah book. It creates animosity, it creates division, it creates sometimes even war, as we see in Iraq today, between the Sunnis and the Shia. Well, it's a theologically fueled battle. Sure, politics, put their hands in and ignited the flames, but it is fueled by theology. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says humans will always differ except whom He has mercy on, who He guides. And for that reason He created them. Meaning for the purpose of mercy, He created us. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. He created us to have mercy on us. And every part of Islam is embodying that, is a manifestation of that mercy. Why did He create us? Why did He create this universe? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. He created this universe so that we worship Him. He created us, human beings, to worship Him. And that is the epitome of mercy. Because like that mother, the mother camel has mercy on that child. Allah's mercy is above and beyond anything we can even imagine. But that is an analogy. We can kind of start comprehending what this concept means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability, the tools, through our senses, through our minds, through our ability to think and to come to conclusions, right? He gave us the ability to learn who He is. And this is one of the reasons why He created us. Allahu alladhi khalaqa sab'a samawati wa min al-ardi mithlahun يتنزل الأمر بينهن لتعلموا أن الله على كل شيء قدير وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء علما. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He created the 7 heavens and the earth like it, meaning 7 layers. And He sent down His command, meaning revelation. And revelation was given to prophets, meaning the prophets were sent and the books were given. Why? So that we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows all things, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His knowledge, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of doing all things, and that His knowledge reaches everything. In other words, Allah created us, created this universe, and gave us the tools to get to know Him. And that is the epitome of mercy. To know that there is a being, a super being, who cares about us more than anyone or anything could ever care about us. That is mercy. To know that there is a being who hears our cries, our calls, our dua, as Luqman teaches his child and advises him that if there's a mustard seed, right, something the size of a mustard seed, which is so minute, so small, and it's in the heavens or under the earth or in a rock or in a stone, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring it. Well, part of that meaning is to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly with you, hearing everything you say, knows everything that's in the heart, knows every thought that passes through your mind. Well, that's quite comforting if you're on Allah's side, right? If you're on Allah's side. Well, if you're not on Allah's side, that's not very comforting. But the purpose is to be on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's side. What greater mercy can we ask for than to know that an all-powerful being, capable of doing all things, capable of changing even the most difficult situation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of changing that and making it, a better situation. I'm not talking about erasing it. It's even more profound than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works with much more precision than that. He will take a negative situation and turn it to make it beneficial to you. I'll give you an example. Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, when he ate from the tree, he made a mistake. And that mistake resulted in his being exiled from paradise. Right? That was a punishment. Yes, it was part of the plan, but it was a punishment. And the evidence for that is that it was a consequence of a mistake. That is what we call a punishment. Right? But the the main point, the main lesson of the story of Adam ﷺ is that when he repented, what happened? When he repented, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this world, this life that we live in, the ultimate mercy. Because it is through this life we get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before going back to Him and being His neighbor. We get to live this life to better enjoy the next life. Because when we lived in poverty, we will enjoy wealth even more. Someone who is born in poverty and makes their way up will cherish wealth more than someone who is born wealthy. That's a reality. Someone who goes through an illness and then is healed from that illness, they will appreciate health more than someone who's always been blessed with health. So by repenting, or when he repented, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed his situation to where He made the punishment the blessing. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another example is Lut alayhi salam. When those three angels came disguised as human beings, and he invited them and sheltered them. And now the village knows that he has these three very handsome looking men, and they wanted to force themselves upon them. Right? To him, the situation, these three individuals were the cause of now his predicament, this hardship that he is in. And it was such a hardship to the point where, I mean, his back was to the wall. قال لو أن لي بكم قوة أو آوي إلى ركن شديد. He said, if only I had a power to deal with you, or I had a tribe, right, to back me up. Because Lut alayhi salam was an immigrant. He wasn't from that area, so he didn't have a tribe. And the Prophet ﷺ says, may Allah have mercy on my brother Lut. He forgot that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was there. It was His power. Right? That's how hard it was. That's how hard the situation was. But what happened after? Those three individuals said, Lut, don't worry, we're angels. You know, we are messengers of Allah. The reason, or what he saw, perceived to be the cause of his hardship, was actually the way out. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works. But the moral is, when a person repents, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change what they perceive to be negative and turn it into something positive. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works. We as human beings might, remove that hardship. Someone is in debt. Okay, we'll help you out by paying off that debt. No, Allah will change that debt to something positive, as He does with bad deeds. Whoever repents, Allah will take that debt, those bad deeds, the red marks in a person's account, and change it into green. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. We thrive off of this. And to give another example, the Prophet ﷺ says in Sahih Muslim that whoever curses a believer, says la'natullah, is as if they killed them. Why? Because la'natullah, what it means is, may you be distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. It's as if they killed the person. Why? Because we thrive off Allah's mercy. And nothing can hurt us more than Allah's mercy being taken away from us, or someone making dua that Allah removes His mercy from us subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thrive off of that. So Allah is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. What is the difference between the two? They go back to the same root, Rahman. But in the Arabic language, it's so rich that when a verb or a noun is conjugated in one way or another, it has a different meaning. Right? It has the same root, but an added element to it. So fa'lan is used as so Rahman is on the what they call weight of fa'lan, which is a noun weight. Raheem is on fa'il, right, which means fa'il. Sometimes it can mean maf'ul. I'm getting into detail here, but it means fa'il, which is the doer. Right? The word, when a verb or a word is used on the way of fa'il, it's referring to the doer. This is a person doing the action. So you can see it has a verb meaning here. Rahman has a noun meaning, whereas Raheem has a verb meaning. So Rahman, being a noun, is referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He Himself is mercy. Whereas Raheem He is the one who does mercy, gives mercy upon other people. And this is very deep. This is very deep. because the first one indicates a meaning that we ought to contemplate and reflect on in our entire lives. Allah is the epitome of mercy. He is mercy. Right? That means nothing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees, nothing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not decree, no action taken by Allah or no action not taken by Allah is void of mercy. Everything He does, every decision He makes, every verse that He sent down, every single atom that is created goes back to His mercy. Because mercy is never disconnected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or Allah is never disconnected from His mercy. So when a person is a believer, Allah decrees that this person is born into a believing family. That is mercy. When Allah decrees that so-and-so is born into a non-Muslim family, that is done based on His mercy. Allah does not do anything void of mercy. And that goes back to His Rahman attribute, name. Therefore, to go even deeper, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowledge, His wisdom, right? Take any of His names and attributes, and Rahmah, mercy, can always be paired with it. Allah's wisdom is never void of mercy. And therefore, if He decrees something, mercy always comes with it. وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. And my mercy has reached the extent of everything. Has extended to everything. Every single grain of sand is there because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. We can fathom some of it, but you can see how deep this is. We can never truly fathom everything. But the main point is, nothing occurs, nothing is decreed, except that mercy is what decreed it, whether we understand it or not. Whether we understand it or not, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is one of the secrets of Allah. Why, Fir'aun being there is part of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We might scratch the surface, but we might never truly understand why. And that's okay, because we accept that He is Ar-Rahman. And therefore we know what to do, regardless of the deep meanings or the deep wisdom behind each and everything. Raheem is the action of having mercy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon us mercy, constantly and effectively and always. That is one opinion. The second opinion is that Ar-Rahman is a general mercy. This is a type of mercy He has on every single living creature, Muslim or non. Therefore, for example, He provides everyone. He gives everyone things. Some non-Muslims are very wealthy. Some Muslims are very wealthy. Some non-Muslims are not wealthy. Some Muslims are not wealthy, etc. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly giving human beings and providing them is part of His mercy. He gives oxygen to all people, sunlight to all people, rain to all people. And that is His mercy reaching the extent of everything. Right? Whereas Raheem is a more specific type of mercy, and that is a mercy allocated to believers only. وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ Raheem. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Raheem goes to the believers. Okay, now why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving believers extra mercy? Well, because He loves them more. It's a very simple answer. Will you be more merciful on other than your child? Or who will you have more mercy on, in your child or someone else's child? Of course, your own child. That's quite natural, it's quite normal. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loving the believers, of course He's going to have more mercy on them. And that really manifests itself very clearly in the next life. So a person will come with an earth load of sin, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, I'll forgive that for you so long as you didn't worship anything besides me. That is the mercy dedicated to or given to the believer. Whereas a non-Muslim may have very little sin. Maybe someone who spent their lives in philanthropy, right? And doing good for other people and charity and spending their money. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept that. He will reward them in this life, He'll give them in this life, but in the next life, they have nothing. Why? Because they severed that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they didn't want to be neighbors with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next life, in paradise. So it's very, very simple concept. So that's two. There are other opinions, but these are really the two main opinions you'll find in the books of scholars. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. How can we benefit from these two names? I mean, everything you can turn into a concept of mercy, right? Allah teaching us how to make this table is merciful. Meaning how to make these chairs is mercy. If you look at the library in this room, the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gave this ummah, these amazing scholars who dedicated their lives to protecting and transferring the faith to us and preserving their works for us so that we can continue to learn, and build our faith. That is mercy. It's quite amazing when you think about it. But maybe, perhaps, the best way to see Allah's mercy in your life is through dua. It's through making dua. Because when you make dua and you see the dua answered, I mean, what more, what can reach your heart better than seeing the Lord above seven heavens, above His throne, listen to you and answered your call? I mean, what more can you want than something like that? We would be quite fascinated, quite excited if, a leader of a country, if we sent them a letter or an email and answered it. We would be quite, man, I'm so lucky. We would brag to everyone. This person replied to me. How about making a dua and then the Lord of the universe hears that and replies to it? And therefore, the best way, perhaps the best way, to build that trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to see His lordship above you or in your life, to see His mercy in your life, is by asking Him for whatever you need or whatever you want. And seeing that answered in your life is absolutely amazing. It's profound. Right? That is where the sincerity is built. That trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is built. Experiencing Iman is how you make your Iman stronger. Look at the companions. It's really, I still, till this day, I ask myself, how did they attain such high levels of Iman? Yes, their teacher was a Prophet ﷺ. The highest, the epitome of sincerity. Right? Their understanding of the faith was completely pure, of course. They got the Quran directly from the mouth of the Prophet ﷺ. Their manners was also another reason why their Iman was so strong. Right? This clear understanding of society, which allowed them to understand the wisdoms behind these verses. Whereas today, because at least here in the West, society is so broken down, right? It's not very well built and everyone does whatever they want. When a verse comes that talks about illegal ruling, well, why this? This doesn't make sense. Why that? Well, if you were living in a structured society, you'll understand its benefits. But we don't see that. But perhaps the best way to see Allah in your life, and perhaps, what made these companions, their Iman so strong, is that they experienced the verses and they saw it manifested in their lives. Right? That was a blessing given to that generation. For an event to happen, and then these verses come down regarding this event. Well, that's quite amazing. Or to hear the Prophet ﷺ say something, right? You're going to open Egypt. You're going to open Persia. You're going to open Damascus. And when the Prophet ﷺ said this, it was during the Battle of the Trench. They were building that trench. And these people, these companions, they were worried. A coalition is coming to siege our small city, right, and destroy us. And their numbers are far greater than us. And the Prophet ﷺ saying, you're going to open Egypt, and you're going to open Persia. The hypocrites started saying, what is this? And they used that against the Prophet ﷺ. Yet, a decade later, they see this played in their lives. Well, that increases their Iman. Why? Because they saw Iman, they saw these verses They saw these sayings of the Prophet ﷺ come to life. Well, we can do that through dua. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, supplicate, call to me and I will answer you. When you see the answer come to you, subhanAllah, you will say, Allah takes care of me, I'm okay, whatever happens. He's not going to leave me. Why would He? And it's not something that happens overnight. This is when you make dua, you keep making dua, and throughout the years you see it manifested in your life. That is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, the sovereign of the day of judgment. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sovereign of all things. He's the sovereign of this universe that we live in. So the question becomes, why did He specify the day of judgment? And the day of compensation. Right? The day which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds everyone accountable. Why did He specify that to that day? For a few reasons. First is that on that day we will see His sovereignty in a manner we couldn't reach in this life. We can contemplate the natural universe, but there will always be questions. We will always, feel like there's some wisdom. Actually, there's a lot of wisdom that we cannot comprehend or we cannot see. So people will always have questions. And maybe a next generation will be able to answer that question, but they'll forget about another reality that a previous generation knew about. So we are limited in our ability to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sovereignty. We know it, we accept it, right? But it's limited. On the next life, or during the next life, we will see things that we cannot even fathom and comprehend, right? So a more complete sovereignty will be seen from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day, because our ability will be enhanced, and what we see on the day of judgment and the realities is far greater than what we can understand here. And that's one reason. Number two is that on that day, our ability to choose is almost completely removed. In this life, we have the ability to choose, right? We have the ability to own. I can own a house, and I'm the sovereign of that house. I can own a business, and I'm the sovereign of that business. I run it, right? Whereas on the day of judgment, a person won't be able to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except by permission, right? On that day, nothing happens except by the permission of Allah. No one will be able to intercede for another person except by the permission of Allah. Even the Prophet ﷺ will not speak to Allah except after his permission. And this is in an authentic hadith, a very well-known hadith, the hadith of the Shafa' al-Kubra, the great intercession, in which the Prophet ﷺ says that on that day, I will prostrate, right? And I will praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with praises I don't know right now. And he'll continue to praise until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Muhammad, Allahumma salli sallam alayhi. Raise your head, ask and you will be given, intercede and it will be accepted. So you see that manifest. Even the Prophet ﷺ, the most beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will not be able to speak to him except by permission. So his sovereignty is really manifested on that day. A third reason is to remind us of the importance of that day. In this life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability to choose, gave us the ability to own certain things, right? Because this life is borderline worthless to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is nothing more than a very, very short phase. As the Prophet ﷺ says, it's as if you are just passing by. Be a stranger in this life. Someone who's just passing by. You stop under a tree to get some rest and then you continue on your journey. That's what this life is. And it's also described that this life is not worth the wing of a mosquito to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas the next life, that's what really matters. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. The next life is better and it's eternal. Whereas this life is temporary. To really put our focus on that day and to get our emotions, this is number 4, our emotions attached to that day, not attached to this life. By reminding us of the next life, saying He is the sovereign on that day, it takes our mind off of this life to let us know that there's this next life that He will directly judge. We have judges and courts here, but Allah is the one who He Himself judges in the next life. It is more important, it is more crucial, And therefore, we should be focused on that. And this verse really, it touches on the emotion of fear, because that is a day of accountability, and we are afraid of our account. This is a reality. It is the day of accountability. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is playing on that chord, that emotion of fear, to get us emotionally, not just mentally, emotionally attached to the next life. Because if our concern, our fear is directed or used to think about the next life, it'll make this life much less of a concern to us. And the less that this life is a concern to us, the less stressful it will be, and the more happiness we can find in it. These are the first 3 verses of Surah al Fatiha. According to one opinion among the scholars, that Surah al Fatiha begins with Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That is verse 1. Inshallah, we will continue in our next meeting. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.